Alright, let's get started. On the right here, I have my web browser open to the index HTML file which I'm working on. And on the left, I have my text editor. I'm using Notepad++, but you can use whatever you'd like. This one just so happens to be free. I know other ones are popular, such as Emacs or Sublime Text. So the first thing we're going to do is just get something going so that we can quickly preview it. So I'm going to tell the browser here, I'm using .type HTML, and that tells the browser that we're using the HTML5 standard. Then I'm going to create some HTML tags. This is where all of our code will go. And then inside of here, I'm going to create our head. And this will allow us to set the title of this page. And I'm going to set the title to Creative Solutions, like that. And if I save this and reload now, rather than getting index.html, I get Creative Solutions. Excellent. Now let's continue on. So we'll go ahead and create the body now. The body is everything that gets displayed and rendered here in the screen. And I'm going to create a little tag. I'm going to call it the page class. And so I'm going to use this so that I can have a nice background color on my page. Have a nice background and have it against another color. And so now I'm going to hop over to the styles.css file. This is where we create all of our stylings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want my body, oops, add a little extra thing there. I want my body to be the background color B3B3FF. And I want all the font on this page to be serif. Okay, if I refresh now, oh, nothing happened, and that's because I didn't include this style sheet here. So in your header, you want to add a link reference. You want to have this link to a style sheet, and you're going to say that the type of this is a text/CSS file, and you're going to give the reference to style.css, because that's what we have named it here. It's style.css. And now if I save this and I reload, you'll see I get this nice bluish purple color. And now I want to go ahead and get a nice color going for my page. And since I'm using a class, I have to hit .page here to specify this as a class. And I'm going to say I want my class to be, my page to be about 1,000 pixels. If you want it wider, if you want it less wide, you can go ahead and do that. And for now, I'm going to give it a minimum height of 1,000 pixels since there's nothing in it, so that way we can see it. And I'm going to make the background here F2, F2, F2. And so if we refresh our page now, we get this nice grayish color. We'll work on that color later, but for now we're just getting it on there and going. And I want this to be centered on the page. So I'm going to actually set the margin left to be automatic. I'm going to set the margin right to be auto. And what this does is the auto says push it as far to the right as you can, and the right says push it as far to the left as you can. And so we end up with a centered box here. And then finally, I don't like this little area at the top, this blue area that I'm getting there. So I'm going to set the margin on the top to -20 pixels. And that'll give us a nice, like it's coming out of the top of the page there. Great. So now what I want to do is I want to add in a top bar here. That's the top bar with our title, or our little company logo. And so I'm going to create a class called top bar. And in my images directory, I have a little image. I have images/title, and you can get these files as well. And let me close this div tag here. Okay, great. And let's reload that. Now we have this Creative Solutions. And there's some weird things. I'd like it to be centered. And you can tell that it's sort of going off the top of the page there a little bit. So let's enhance this a little bit. Let's go back to our styles, and we're going to edit our top bar class. And we want this class to also be the same width as our inside thing, so we're going to set it to the same width there. And we're going to give it a little bit of a different background color. And we're going to set the height to be 175 pixels. And I'm going to make it, since it's a top bar, I'm going to give it a little border on the bottom. Like so. Refresh that. That's starting to look a little bit better. We still have some minor things. I want this to be centered. So what I'm going to do is in the top bar class, I'm going to set up text align to be centered. Refresh that again. Alright, that's looking better. And it's still coming off the top there a little bit. And so I'm going to add a little bit of an extra border there. And so I'm going to add a new thing, a top bar class that applies specifically to images. So I did that top bar space img. And I'm going to set the top of this to give us an extra 30 pixels there. Good, now that's looking pretty good, I think. Alright, so let's add our menu in now. So I'm going to use a unordered list, and so I'm going to create a new div. I'm going to make this class our menu. And so let me add the close tag there so don't forget. This is going to be an unordered list, and our list elements are going to be links. And right now they're not linking to anything, so I'm just going to use a hash there. And so the sections I want are graphic design. I'm just going to copy and paste this a few times. So I want graphic design. I want a photography section. I want a logo section. And I want to contact us link. Alright, let's refresh, see what that looks like. And you'll notice right now it just sort of is centered there coming down. So we'll need to edit this style a little bit to get it the way we want. So we have a menu class now. And the menu class, I want to apply it directly to the unordered list tag. And what I want to do is I want to say, okay, I want this thing to be inline. So I don't want it to take up the entire space. And I want it to also be centered. And so you'll see what this does. It doesn't appear to do a whole lot, but when we get it in combination with the list stuff we're doing, we want this to actually be, did a little bit thing wrong here. I actually wanted this to be inline block. That's why it didn't quite look the way I wanted. So if we save that and we reload, you'll see now that these dots come over to match with this. And so before, this UL tag was actually taking up the entire space. And I want it to only take up as much space as it needs. So that's why I gave it the inline block. And now we're going to add a little bit for our LI tags. And so these, I don't want them to be dropping down underneath each other. I want them to be going left to right. So I'm going to make them inline. Like that. And now the spacing is a little bit funky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add a little bit of a margin to these guys. Let's try 15 pixels, see if we like that. And that's looking better. It's nice and centered. It looks pretty good. And now I want to add a little bit of I don't like the underlined text there. So I'm going to edit it a little bit. And since these are A tags, these are anchor tags. That's what the A stands for. I'm going to get rid of that underline, and I'm going to say that I don't want any text decoration. That looks better. But I also want people to know for sure that they're links when they hover over them. So I'm also going to, they're also a little bit small, so I'm going to make them bigger. So let's make them 20 pixels. And of course, you can adjust this to whatever you think it looks best. I think this looks pretty good. And now finally, I'm going to use the hover attribute to say when I hover over these things, I want to make them bold. Alright, so now when you hover over them, they'll come up bold, and so whoever is hovering over them will know for sure that they're links. Alright, this is looking pretty good. The last thing I want to do is I want to add a border to this page here. It looks a little bit just weird to me. So on the page here, I'm just going to add a border that is 1 pixel wide, solid, and black. Give us just a little bit of definition from that blue. Perfect. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right, so now we have a nice basic layout. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start populating these different sections.